Good evening. We are going to start with the opening prayer. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the universe. Lord, thou abidest in all, thou art all, thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all. Thou art the self of all. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss. Salutations unto thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So today, the topic is my pilgrimage of Holy Mother's footprints in South India. And I'm just going to start with a short prayer. Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagat Gurum Padapadme Tayo Shridva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. Okay. This travelogue is based on my recent trip to India as a pilgrim. Traveling as a pilgrim is different from taking a trip as a tourist. Sukaliam went over this point in the talk he gave us last December. A tourist would travel for pleasure or finding or seeing a place, while pilgrimage is more a journey within. To have a spiritual connection between the temple, idol, or holy person and God in our hearts. Revere Ajaya Prana Mataji said in her book, Vedanta in Practice, idol worship is the first to start for all beginners. It is the easiest way to communicate with God. The British used to make fun of us, meaning Indians, saying that we are image worshippers. Of course we are. Image of what? Image of the reality which is in us. We look for God everywhere, but He is seated in our hearts. The question may arise, when God is living in our heart, why should we go to the temple? Take the case of our faith. We carry our faith with us wherever we go. But can we ever see it with our eyes? No. To see my faith, I have to look into a mirror onto which my face is projected. In the same way, the Lord is in our heart, but we cannot see Him. When we go to the temple, we are not going to see the Lord sitting there. I carry the Lord in my heart, and when I stand there, I project Him onto that image or pratima, and then do puja, worship. I worship Him and carry Him back home. Mataji continued, that is our real nature. Know that. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if He is here, meaning our heart, He is there in the temple. If He is not here, He is not there. End of quote. Going to a temple, being in the holy company of nuns, monks, and devotees, and visiting places where saints and sages had been are ways to have that connection with God, which is already in our hearts. So let's keep this in our minds as we all travel to India for the next hour as pilgrims. My trip to India started with a longing I had to go to Bangalore and see the rock, which is a place sanctified by Holy Mother. As the trip was organized, other holy places were added. Some of them were visited by Holy Mother, and others were not visited by her. This journey was mostly in South India and extended to 28 days. So our first stop is Bangalore, and I was there from October 30th to November 1st. I arrived to the Bangalore airport at 2:20 in the morning. After I got my luggage, I went to a waiting area where I sat and turned on my cell phone to call Swami Yogananandaji and let him know that I had arrived. The phone was not connecting after several attempts. I started to feel worried. This was my first time in this place, and I needed my phone working inside and outside the airport as I was going to be picked up. A young woman sat next to me. I asked her if she spoke English. After she replied yes, I asked her if she could help me with the phone. I added that I was an iPhone fan, but I was using an Android for this trip. She smiled, and after checking my phone, she said that she didn't know what the issue was. Nevertheless, she kindly offered to type her Wi-Fi password on my phone so I could make my phone call. This allowed me to call Swami Yogananandaji and also talk to Jitendra about the problem with my phone. That young woman had to leave, so I was with no phone connection again. I approached a man who seemed to be working at the airport. I asked him how I could get the password to use the airport Wi-Fi. This would at least allow me to communicate with the Bangalore Sarada Math while I was inside the airport. I told him I was having difficulties connecting with my phone. He looked at it, checked the settings, and solved the problem. So 2 angels were sent to my rescue. I thanked him, and I told to myself, no matter what, I am keeping my loyalty to iPhones. Later on, I was picked up and brought to the Bangalore Sarada Math, where I was greeted by the head of the center, Gita Prana Mataji. During breakfast, I also met other nuns from the math. I walked around the compound. The math has a beautiful temple with a small Shiva temple and a pond behind it. There is also a school bordering the guest house. It is a very serene place. So you can see here the compound. I stayed at the Bangalore Sarada Math for 2 days. We had morning and evening meditation. I was also very well fed, which was something I experienced throughout the whole trip. Next day, after morning meditation and breakfast, I met with Gita Prana Mataji again. Mataji had made arrangements for a devotee, Aruna D, to be my guide during my visit to the Sri Ramakrishna Math. By late morning, Mataji sent me in an auto, you see? Cool. And I met the devotee at the entrance of the Sri Ramakrishna ashram. She was very sweet and helpful. Aruna D showed me around, introduced me to the Swamis, brought me to the temple and to the rock. So that is the Sri Ramakrishna ashram. Holy Mother visited the Bangalore Sri Ramakrishna Math for a few days in March 1911, sanctifying the ashrama with her presence. It is said that one day Mother climbed to the top of the hillock behind the ashram and went into an exalted mood while watching the sunset. This is the rock. When Swami Ramakrishnananda learned of this, he went up straight to Holy Mother, prostrated and chanted 3 verses from the Devi Mahatmya, Chandi, saluting the Divine Mother. Swami Nirmalananda requested Mother to perform japa on that place where she was seated, which she did. From that day, this place, also known as Holy Mother's Rock, is considered sanctified. So just imagine how special it is to have the opportunity to touch with our hands and heart a place where Holy Mother walked by and meditated. You can actually get to that point and sit there and touch the place. So not far from the rock, there is a bench which was sanctified by Swami Vivekananda. The story behind it is that when Swami Vivekananda arrived to Bangalore in 1892, he stayed in a guest house for a few days. During that period, he sat and rested a few times on a stone bench attached to the front wall of the house of Sri Sugappa, who was a jeweler. After discovering later that Swami Vivekananda was the one sitting at that bench, Sri Sugappa and his descendants preserved the bench as a valuable monument. This stone bench slab was officially handed over to the Ramakrishna Math in January 1997. And again, imagine, as you see in the picture, that Swami Vivekananda was really sitting there. Aruna D brought me to visit a couple of temples in the vicinity, including Gavi Gangadareshwara Temple, which looks like a cave inside. Holy Mother visited that temple. Then we went back to the Sri Ramakrishna ashram and had lunch prasad there. At that time, I met other senior monks. Afterwards, Aruna D called an auto for me, which brought me back to the Sarada Math with my heart full of joy. I saw the rock. The next day, November 1st, we had morning meditation at 4:30 and then met with Mataji after breakfast. I went back to the Shiva temple that I showed you before and walked around the compound. Mataji arranged for a taxi to pick me up and bring me to the airport to take a plane to Trivandrum. Mataji kindly made a phone call to Yoga Vrata Prana Mataji, a nun from Trivandrum, Saradamath, to confirm the time of my arrival to the Trivandrum airport. They were all so caring and loving. It was a short but very sweet visit to Bangalore. One of the brahmacharinis always sat with the devotees to have our meals together. So, our next stop, Trivandrum. I was there from November 1st to the 4th. So I arrived to the Trivandrum airport. I was picked up and brought to the Saradamath. The Saradamath temple compound in Trivandrum is very big. It includes the convent area with the temple and also a hostel, which had around 20 female college students. There were also elderly nuns living there. So that's the temple. I spent 4 days there and attended the regular morning and evening meditation and arati. The head of the center, Chitana Prana Mataji, was out of town. Yoga Vrata Prana Mataji, who was then in charge, made arrangements so I could visit temples during my stay. We mostly move around in autos. Next day, during the late afternoon, a student from the hostel brought me to a Durga temple and a Hanuman temple that were nearby. The following day, we were going to visit Padmanabha Swami temple. Mataji let me borrow a long skirt to use. The rule is that women had to wear a sari or skirt, and men had to wear a dhoti with bare chest. That's the rule. After morning meditation and breakfast, Mataji and I left towards the temple. After our arrival, we went directly to the main office, but were not allowed to enter the temple because they required a lot of documentation from me as a foreigner. The official that talked to us said that it usually takes 2 days processing for a foreigner to be allowed to visit inside the temple. Nevertheless, they said I could go the next day with Mataji. Since we were in town, Mataji brought me instead to visit 3 other temples. Sri Hanuman Temple, and that is the front, Sri Ganesha Temple, and Sri Attukal Temple, which is dedicated to Mother Parvati. That one. We walked through the temples, saw the deities, and sat for meditation for a while. Mataji said that we should sit for meditation whenever we visit a temple. Then we went back to the ashrama. Mataji arranged for a devotee to bring me to the Sri Ramakrishna ashrama in Trivandrum during the afternoon. We visited the ashram to the left, this one, but we couldn't meet any of the swamis. After that, we went to the Sri Ramakrishna Ashrama Hospital, there, and prostrated at the shrine that they have there. So to the left of the hospital, there is a shrine. Very, very nice. So next day, we went back to the Padmanabha Swami temple. After checking with 3 temple officials, bringing copy of my visa and passport, having a letter of introduction, and staying in close proximity to Mataji, and of course passing through the metal detector, we finally got inside and joined the line queue. The temple is really amazing. This temple was, and I think still is, widely considered as the world's richest Hindu temple. The deity, Lord Vishnu, is made from 12,008 saligramam. Saligramam are ammonite or shell fossils that were collected from the banks of the Kali Gandaki River in Nepal. After standing in line for a while, we finally saw Lord Vishnu and had the darshan. However, the altar is very, very dark. You will not see Lord Vishnu like you see it there. We cannot see it with our physical eyes. We have to use our heart instead to see Lord Vishnu. So it was again an opportunity to connect with God inside us. Brahmaloka Prana Mataji, also from the math, brought me to visit a couple of temples as well. We also travel in autos. I had informed Yogavata Prana Mataji that I would leave from Trivandrum by taxi early in the morning on November 5th, heading to Kanyakumari. While I was organizing the trip last summer, Prasuna's sister tried to book me a room for one night in Kanyakumari. Unfortunately, due to some logistical difficulties, it did not work out. Therefore, the plans were changed for me to spend the whole day, November 5th, in Kanyakumari, and then take a train from Kanyakumari to Ramanantapuram, Ramnath, during the night. Yogavrata Prana Mataji got worried about me not having a place to rest in Kanyakumari during the daytime, let alone carrying my suitcase all around. So she contacted the booking office in Kanyakumari, Kendra, and I got a room for one night. Instead of leaving on November 5th, I left from Trivandrum in a taxi on November 4th during the afternoon, arriving to Kanyakumari, Kendra after 3+ hours. So we got to Kanyakumari, and I was there November 4th and 5th. So I arrived to Kanyakumari in the evening of November 4th. Kanyakumari is the place at the southern tip of India where Swami Vivekananda swam to a rock to meditate for a few days. Kanyakumari was the only place that I had to maneuver on my own during the whole trip. After I checked in the hotel, I went to the restaurant nearby. When I tried to order the food, the cashier did not understand me, nor I understood her. At that moment, there was no other cashier that would speak fluent English, but monkey see, monkey do. I stepped aside, and I observed what the person behind me did to order the food. And it worked. I just had to hand over the cashier a printed paper placing the order. That was it. Once I sat at the table, I observed how people wash the plantain leaf plate by putting water from a cup and then discarding the water like that. I did the same. So everything worked out and I ate very well. Then I went back to the hotel and told the manager that I wanted to see the temple in the city. It was probably around 7 p.m. They instructed me to take a bus that was parked across the hotel. One of the hotel workers told the driver in a language that was not English that I wanted to go to the temple. So once the bus got to a specific stop, the driver pointed to a street and said to me, "Temple." That was it. The area was very crowded with people, restaurants, stores, and street vendors. I went down the street looking like a foreigner, memorizing some landmarks, looking like that. A big crowd was walking down on that street. I assumed they were going to the temple, so I followed the crowd. Once I arrived to the temple, I looked again for signs that I could easily remember to avoid getting lost. I had to return to the same stop where the bus left me. It was heavily raining. I joined the line queue, keeping an eye on what the people in front of me were doing. I finally saw the main deity, but I must admit that my mind was not fully there. I did not want to miss the bus that will bring me back to the hotel. I don't remember if it was that was the last bus for the night, or if it was that I had to wait another hour if I missed that bus. Besides that, I was not sure how to move around in that temple on my own. So I missed having the darshan from other deities in the temple. It was still pouring and also dark when I walked out of the temple. I started walking, checking the landmarks, until I finally arrived to the bus stop. I ended standing in front of a store entrance, sheltering myself from the heavy rain. I felt a little worried that the store owner would ask me to move, but it worked out all right. There was still a lot of people walking in the streets. The rain waned down. Finally, the bus came, and I went back to the hotel. Next morning, I wanted to see the sunrise. It was before 5 a.m., and one of the hotel attendants showed me the way to the beach. The same, said, "That way." Here, in that place, there is a confluence, according to Google, of Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, and Indian Ocean. It is both a point of sunrise and sunset. So I walked 8 to 10 minutes through a pathway, both with enthusiasm and apprehension. I was walking alone, and it was still a little dark. Nevertheless, there was also an underneath beauty and calmness in the surroundings. There were trees, bushes, and birds in the way. When I arrived, 10-15 minutes before sunrise, there were around 9 persons there. People kept coming, and it ended being a big crowd of both adults and children. As I was waiting, I started to walk on the sand, thinking that I was probably following Swami Vivekananda's footsteps. He probably walked on this beach before or after he swam to the rock where he sat for meditation. So that's waiting for the sunrise there. Isn't that beautiful? I walked back to the hotel, and after having breakfast, I went to the city by bus again to take the boat to Vivekananda's Memorial Rock. It was sunny and hot. I paid for my ticket and then waited in the line queue to get into the boat. Two elderly women sat in the boat across from me. They kept looking at me and talking to each other, like. So I looked at them and said, "American." And they look at each other, and we all just laughed. We landed at the Memorial Rock, and I followed the crew. I got confused at first because some people got in the line to buy another ticket, but some people didn't. So again, looking, I observed that people gave a ticket receipt to a person standing at the bottom of the stairs that led to the exhibition area in the second floor. So I bought the ticket, left my sandals at a stand, went up and walked around. It was very crowded. So you see here, that's where you can stand and just looking around. That's where the boat originally left from. So this is also a place to sit. It's dark, but that's where you can get inside there. There is a meditation room inside the museum, which I like very much. It was a place to sit quietly, to think about the purpose of being there at the memorial site as a pilgrim, not as a tourist. I returned on the boat to the city. First, I bought a refreshing coconut water from a street vendor. I kept walking, and I saw an auto parking lot. So I inquired, and one of the drivers took me to the hotel. Once I arrived, I walked around and saw a small museum located behind the hotel area. This museum portrayed the history starting from the original idea to the completion of the Vivekananda's Memorial Rock. Then I had lunch and took rest. During the afternoon, I went back to the beach and sat there for a while. As I was walking back to the hotel, I met an Indian couple and their daughter who lived in Michigan. Actually, they say they knew Swami Yogananandaji. We wanted to go to the other beach to see the sunset, but we realized we would not make it on time. So instead, I went with them to visit a temple and the Ramayana Museum, which were across the hotel. So that's the museum. It has the whole Ramayana story in slides inside, very nice. After dinner, I checked out from the hotel. I was taking an overnight train to Ramananthapuram, Ramnath, at 10 p.m. Coincidentally, by 9 p.m., a family from the hotel who was taking the same train invited me to go along with them in the auto car. They spoke English and guided me to the correct train compartment that I had to board. I have to say that it was difficult to move around in Kanyakumari because of the language barrier and lack of knowledge about the local costumes. Nevertheless, there were always people available to help. If someone didn't understand what I said, I usually found a person nearby that would speak English, or that would understand me when I did gestures and signs. So once I got into the train, heading to Ramnath, I did like the other passengers, look for my seat, or better to say, my bed. I confirmed my ticket number, put the bunk bed down. I was at the bottom in the right side of the cabin. I pushed my luggage under it. Sleeping in this train was an experience by itself. There were 6 bunk beds in the section that I was, all of them facing the hall, 3 on one side, 3 on another, facing the hall. There was like 2 feet distance between the bunk beds. Behind was a window, and in front was the hallway. There was no door or curtain. Across the hallway, the compartments were smaller, with a couple of beds that were parallel to the hall. And they also had a window behind. There was a woman on the same compartment that I was. She had the bottom bed on the left, so we were both bottom. She spoke English, so we introduced each other. The train started moving, we left, and I thought, wow, we are lucky. It is only the 2 of us in this section. I closed my eyes, and suddenly the train stopped. It was probably around 11 p.m. One of the train officials walked with 4 men into our compartment. The train official checked my and the other woman's tickets. The men were still in the hall across, talking to the officials. And I told the woman, I told her, oh, I thought this cabin was for women only. She replied, no, it is for both women and men. Then she stood up and left. When we introduced each other, she had said that her husband and son were in another compartment, but she didn't, I don't know if she booked after, so she was not able to be with them. I don't know where she slept because she left her luggage next to her bed and did not come back until we arrived to our final destination. So the train official left, and these 4 men started accommodating their belongings while chatting in their language. I shushed them. They all climbed to their beds and kept quiet. Until the music started, the snoring symphony began. The train itself was noisy and was making jerky movements as it was riding on the railroad track. In addition to that, the cabin would lit up through the windows at unpredictable times due to the beams from the train stations that were on the way. So I did not sleep well on that night. At one point, I stood up in the hall with my cell phone flashlight to go to the washroom. As I started walking, suddenly I saw an arm partially extended across the hall, like that. It was someone comfortably sleeping in the cabin across. So I maneuvered my way around to continue walking. I have to say that in spite of all that, I am very glad I had the experience of traveling in that train, giving me the opportunity to learn from others to be accommodating according to the situation or condition. It reminded me of an incident where Holy Mother was traveling with some attendants. After they finished cooking, the pot with the rice fell on the ground. She gathered the rice that she could, offered it to Thakur, and then happily partook with everyone in the group, adapting to the circumstances. So I arrived early morning to the Ramnath train station. I was picked up at the station by a Swami. I bent down, did pranams, and then we left towards the Sri Ramakrishna mission. And thus, the temple is there. You go through those stairs, and you can see it's beautiful inside. The guest house is around there. Later on that day, I found out that the person who picked me up at the train station was not Swami Lokamayanandaji. It was the ashrama taxi driver who happened to be wearing an orange dhoti at that time. I was under the impression that only Swamis would wear an orange dhoti, which I learned was not the case. He just smiled when I did pranams to him. Probably he thought, oh, these Americans are so polite. Then I remembered my trip to one of the temples in Trivandrum a few days before. While we were in the line queue, I saw several men with the orange dhoti. I thought, wow, a lot of Swamis come to this temple. Thanks God I didn't do pranam to any of them. So after I arrived to the ashram from the train station and had breakfast, 3 of us, the ashram driver still wearing the orange dhoti, a devotee, Sanja, and myself traveled to Rameshwaram. Holy Mother visited Rameshwaram. We went to the Ramananda Swami temple, where Sita installed the Shiva Linga. So that's the temple. The temple is enormous, having a corridor with 1,000 pillars here. Holy Mother visited this temple in 1911 with other devotees. Holy Mother was allowed to enter the inner sanctuary and do puja in this temple. According to Swami Chitanananda in his book, Sri Sarada Devi and Her Divine Play, when Holy Mother saw the uncovered image of Lord Rameshwaram Shiva, she exclaimed, I see it is just the same as when I place it here. When asked by the devotees what she meant, she controlled herself and then said with a smile, never mind, it was a slip of the tongue. Swami Chitanananda added, with his divine eyes, Ramakrishna saw that in one of her previous incarnations, Sarada Devi had been Sita. End of quote. So imagine how special to have the darshan of an idol which Holy Mother directly worshipped. After we left the temple, we went back to the tip of Rameshwaram. It's called Arichalmunai, and then drove back to the center to have lunch. So this is the place, that's the very tip of Rameshwaram. So we went back to the center, and Swami Suttapananda was the head of the center, but he was out of town. So I met with Swami Lokamayanandaji, who helped, with the organizing the places, that I was gonna visit. So next day after Mangala Arati, morning meditation and breakfast, we visited 4 temples. At the Jagannatha Perumal temple, the main deity is Vishnu here. We also went to Sri Mangaleshwarar temple. I don't have a picture, but Shiva is the main deity in that one. And we went to the Varahi Amman temple, which is a temple dedicated to goddess Varahi. Finally, the 4th one was the Betudayar Kali temple, which is near the railroad station. This particular temple is small. Mother Kali's image was very close to the sidewalk. It was amazing. So it's really, it's so incredible that you really don't need to go to a huge temple to have a spiritual connection between the image and God in our hearts, as Rivera Ajaya Pranamataji had said. So then we visited the Royal Palace, where Vivekananda was welcomed after coming back from America. We saw the original pictures of the Raja and other officials in the palace. There were murals painted all over. Rama and Sita visited that temple. So just imagine again Vivekananda walking through that place. And how special is that, following his footprints. Finally, we went to the Sri Ramakrishna Mat, very close to the palace. Swami Vivekananda spent 2 days in this place, of course, before it was an ashram. The Swami in charge, who is here, showed us the room where Vivekananda has stayed, which is now adjacent to the shrine. We had lunch prasad with the Swami, and after that we went back to the other ashrama where I was staying. During the evening we had arati and meditation. The next day, early in the morning, after Mangala Arati and meditation, I visited the elementary and middle school that is in the temple compound. It's huge. I saw a couple hundred of students line up. It was so impressive to see their discipline. They did chanting and prayers, everybody quiet, not moving or jumping in line, and it really made me think about the importance of establishing and reinforcing discipline very early in life. Later, during the morning, I left to Madurai in the ashrama taxi with Sanja, the devotee, and another driver. So I was in Madurai, November 8th until the 10th, and Holy Mother visited Madurai. So I arrived to Madurai Sri Ramakrishna Ashram after driving 3.5 hours in the taxi. That's the temple. So I was guided to the guest house, and the compound is huge. They have an elementary school, a clinic behind the temple. I had lunch prasad, took rest, and then met with one of the Swamis, Sudarshan Maharaj, around 4 p.m. after they reopened the temple. So Swami helped me to coordinate the temples that I would visit during the remaining day and a half that I would be in Madurai. The first place to visit next day during the morning will be the Meenakshi temple, which was also visited by Holy Mother and her companions in 1911. Goddess Meenakshi, or Parvati, is considered a form of Shakti, and her consort, Sundareshwarar, a form of Shiva. According to Sudarshan Maharaj, the Meenakshi temple didn't allow foreigners, but he reassured me that I would be okay. So after I finished meeting with Swami, I walked around the compound, and then during the evening we had arati meditation, followed by dinner and night. So next day, we had Mangal Arati at the Sri Ramakrishna temple at 5 a.m., and then by 5:15, a taxi driver picked me up to bring me to the Meenakshi temple. Once I sat inside the taxi, the driver looked at me and said, "You look like a foreigner." So I covered my curly hair with a scarf, very well covered. Once we arrived, I was looking in amazement the entrance of the temple, making my foreigner stamp more evident. The driver noticed and then told me, "Don't talk to anybody, just follow me." And I did, and it worked. I was particularly avoiding looking at the priest by walking with my head down, praying, walking like this. But I could feel the priest looking at me. You could feel, that they were like, I couldn't hide my height, so. The driver was a wonderful guide, showing me the deities as we got the darshan. At that time, the temple was not crowded. We stood across a beautiful pond in the middle of the compound called the Golden Lotus Pond. The temple elephant walked by us, ringing the bells tied to one of its legs. It was so beautiful. A white cow near the pond was covered in kumkum red powder dots. Later, I learned that they do puja on the cow earlier in the morning. These are additional pictures of the temple. And then in this one, which is carved in the temple, you see Vishnu giving away Meenakshi, his sister, in marriage to Shiva. Yes, very nice. So think about Holy Mother walked through this temple. So it's just imagine walking through the corridors, thinking that probably I'm walking the same place, following the footprints of Holy Mother here. Then we visited the Kudal Alagar temple located nearby, which is a small temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu. That's a small one. Afterwards, we went back to the ashrama for breakfast. Once we finished, we headed east to get to Dindigul Natam. But we have to make a quick stop and wait while others use the road as well. So the cattle was walking towards us. So we stopped, they passed, we continued. So we went to the big Vishnu temple, which is located on a hill in Dindigul. We stopped first at the holy water place, which was at the top of the hill. That will be difficult to read, but they have holy water in that place there. Then we drove down to the Lord Murga Kartik temple. And finally, we arrived to the Lord Shiva Kalalagar temple. That's in Alagar, Kovil. It's huge. And of course, we made friends on the way. On our way back, we paid a visit to the Gandhi's Museum. It's a museum dedicated to Sri Gandhi. We arrived at the ashrama and had lunch prasad. It was a very, very blessed day. Next day, I took a taxi to the airport after having breakfast. I was taking a flight to Chennai. But for that, you will have to wait until next week. So next week, I will talk about my visit to Chennai, Varanasi, and then I made a quick visit to Mumbai and Pune. So that will be next week. So thank you very much. Is there any question? No question?
Will you go back again to the place that you visit?
I will go tomorrow to India.
Take me.
Oh, yeah. Any other question? Up there, Jitendra, any question? No question. Okay. So thank you very much. Now, Charlie, you have the floor.
Okay. Okay, Swami Yogatmanandaji will be back on Tuesday for the Tuesday class, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Then on Friday evenings, we have the stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. Next Sunday, as Teresa said, she'll be doing a talk called In the City of Gods. So if you like today's talk, you'll come back next week. And we have morning and evening meditation, and I guess that's it. So we'll do the closing prayer, give Teresa a few minutes to set up. Oh yeah, and we have Arati in the shrine room where you have to take your shoes off to go in there if you'd like to go in there, or you can stay in here. And then we have a soup supper afterwards that you're all invited to. So the closing prayer: may the divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
Breaker of all our worldly bondage and adored by all, we adore you too. Stainless Lord, assuming human form. Stainless Lord, assuming human form. Transcendent yet filled with love. You free us from the stain of sin and ornament our world. Consciousness is your form. Your eyes always purified by knowledge. Your eyes always purified by knowledge. Looking at them, illusion is gone. Ocean of shining love and feeling, ever inebriated in your infinite love. Your feet always dear to your devotees. Your feet always dear to your devotees. Your word revealed to God incarnate and the Lord of all things, helping us join with you. Your mind's always set in the divine light. Your mind's always set in the divine light. This we can see through your grace. Destroyer of our worldly sorrow and compassion, soul, infinite is your word. Your life's offered for the world's deliverance. Your life's offered for the world's deliverance, saving us from darkness and fear. Renouncer of all lust and lucre, therefore you were always spurning sensual life. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Grant to us pure love for you. You're fearless and you're free from doubting, with your mind very firmly resolved. Causeless refuge of your devotees, causeless refuge of your devotees, renouncing caste and birth. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even sightedness. You give love and even sightedness, to remove our anguish here. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even sightedness. You give love and even sightedness, to remove our anguish here. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Yet you are the basis of both. O Lord, yet you are the basis of both. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's cave. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's cave. Darkness is destroyed by your light. O Lord, darkness is destroyed by your light. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Yet you are the basis of both. O Lord, yet you are the basis of both. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Darkness is destroyed by your light. O Lord, darkness is destroyed by your light. Langa ranga bhanga. These are all the sounds of mridanga. Langa ranga bhanga. These are all the sounds of mridanga. Spiritual songs devotees are singing for your worship divine. Spiritual songs devotees are singing for your worship divine. Jaya Jaya for your worship divine. Haru Haru for your worship divine. Shiva Shiva for your worship divine. Breaker of all our worldly bondage and adored by all, we adore you too. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Auspicious and blessed, graciousness sublime, all noble ends you give to us, granting us refuge, all seeing God, O Mother Divine, our love to you. Creation, preservation, dissolution are your powers, eternal one. Nature's real basis, nature's essence, O Mother Divine, our love to you. We come seeking refuge from anguish. Be our Savior through your deep concern. All our suffering remove, Goddess, O Mother Divine, our love to you. Victory, O Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, love to you. Jai Shri Ram Krishna Dev Ki Jai. Jai Shri Sarda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Shri Swami Vivekanand Ki Jai. Jai Shri Buddha Dev Ki Jai. Jai Shri Jesus Christ